other projects and things. I apologize if you hear the ventilation right now. I actually wanted to make an axeboy video. Although he was released in season 5 and has definitely had a bunch of changes. I've actually played him since season 14, both on PC and mobile. Currently mobile because I can't access it on Windows 11 for some reason. And I wanted to give my tips as well as lore explanation and gameplay analysis on axeboy and things you should and should not. I also, in this, I've gotten some pretty good soul siphoning hits both on mobile and PC, but I will only be covering it for mobile since that's the only one I can run as of current. And with this, I also want to show within gameplay like my own faults. There are a lot of misjudged hits I've made personally playing axeboy, both in rank and in quick match, and I want to show what you should do versus what you should not do, or even ways you can correct your habits as an axeboy player. And this is just for fun. So if I get anything wrong, I'll follow it up, or you can let me know and I'll see. Anyways, let's go. Now, aside from little girl, axeboy is probably the youngest person in the game. Like literally, this is a legitimate kid. I actually have a sister too. But yeah, axeboy is this just kid who got his head cut in a box at White Sand Street Asylum, and his head is filled with a bag of air. Literally, there is no noggin in there. It's just a bag of air, and he places these things called Juniper Trees, which in turn grow and become mature over time to give you these little souls. So when you first start off in the game, so he has this external trait or passive called the Corrupt Area, where essentially he'll have some peaceful pines or the pine trees spawn in various places at random around the map, usually within like, I'd say 30 seconds between each other. Maybe 30, maybe 12. It just really depends. But over time, they will grow if you place a new one. And once they become mature, you can rip off branches from those trees and reuse them to plant more peaceful pines. But if there are too many peaceful pines in an area at a time, it will remove the oldest one. So say that there was one that spawned and all the other trees have been replaced after being taken down at some point in time in a match. If you went ahead and placed a tree that went over the maximum limit of Juniper Trees, then that one that you left untouched will go away and leave a branch on the floor. Now, it's mindful that when you play axeboy, you don't have to have 3 out of 3 Juniper Trees on you. It's better if you have 2 actually, because going out of your way to get a 3rd one isn't really necessary unless you're down. You'll be okay if you run 1 out of 3 trees, but at that point I would suggest filling your gauge to 2, because Juniper Trees aren't regenerable. You have to manage your trees, if that makes sense. And if you're at 0, at some point in the match, if you can make time without wasting time, if that makes sense, spending time well is time well spent. Moving forward, we have a thing called Restful Soul. Hey, it's Editing Eyes here. I'm gonna be completely honest when I say I yap a lot. I'm gonna condense it down in the easiest way as possible. Resentful Soul, I'd have an analogy in there later, but there are 2 souls that are on a tree at a time. When a survivor goes into that area and leaves, they take one of the souls with them. That blue soul becomes purple. Ooh, grape flavor. So now that grape flavored soul is traveling with the survivor. But when they first leave that circle, there is a 3-second speed debuff that decreases their speed dramatically. If you are within range of that survivor and you see them with that debuff, go for that down, if possible, or bait out the pop, like the prime pop. Now, it is important to know that there are 3 different uses of the soul. No, there are 2 different uses of the soul, but 3 of occurrences that could happen. Like, there's a 1 out of 3 chance for these things. You can use a soul and get a speed boost, You can use the soul and get a normal hit on the survivor. I call it a soul siphon or soul snipe. But it's essentially when the soul is coming in your direction, as it would normally, and hits the survivor. And they deal a normal injury state. 4 situations, actually. So you get the speed boost, you get the normal injury hit, you get the soul siphoning hit, and you get a normal hit, so you deal 2 damage states, and now they're fully down. Or you get a speed boost, but mess up, and it doesn't benefit you in chase or in anti-heal at all. Generally, when you use a soul, you want it to use it in the best way you possibly can. You do not want to waste a soul, because there is only a certain amount of souls on a map at a time that are constantly changing, because people are taking down trees and you're trying to put up new trees, and you're using souls so you can get speed buffs and all that fun stuff. Because a speed buff is basically an animation buff across the board. It speeds up all of your animations: stun recovery, attack recovery, vaulting speed, pallet breaking speed, ballooning speed, chairing speed, walking speed. But it does not affect your soul siphoning speed. Let that be known. And so you want to make sure you get the best use as much as you can. Because if you waste a soul and there are no souls on a tree, let alone multiple trees, there will not be another soul regenerated on a tree for 30 seconds. And considering Identity V is a quick pace game, unlike Dead by Daylight or even Roblox Daybreak, you want to make as much use of your time as possible, because this guy's hitbox sucks. So yeah, that's the best way I'm going to condense it. I'll get back to current recording. Hi! So think of it kind of like giving someone a sandwich. You make the sandwich and put it on the table and divide that evenly into 2 halves. And now you have your 2 pieces. The moment that somebody walks up and picks up a piece of that sandwich and leaves, they're enjoying that sandwich for a short amount of time. But now that sandwich is leaving with them and is basically in their mind at that time, you only have 1 sandwich left on the plate. That's just an analogy I came up with, but that's probably the easiest way I can explain. Now, when it comes to actually using the souls, I like to call it like sniping, because that's essentially what it is. It's like reverse sniping. So when you use a soul, I'll try to put it up on screen whenever I take more footage. When you do a soul siphon, that's like your core ability, aside from placing trees. Kind of like how Wu Chang has a dual ability. You can place trees and do soul siphons as a starter. If you hit a survivor with the soul siphon, it deals a normal attack, so it deals 1 damage. It just puts you to an injury state. If you miss it, you'll get a speed boost. And what's really important about this is that you want to make sure you utilize your souls as much as possible. Because what'll end up happening is if you Restful Road. So you can either do 1 or 2 things. When you get first presence, you'll get Restful Road, and it'll give you this little, if you hold it, it'll give you this little path. I can't remember if survivors can see it or not. I'm pretty sure they used to, but it got removed at some point, maybe in like season 20 or something. But you can hold it out and it'll give you this straight line of where your path is gonna go. And when you let go of the button, it gives you this road that stays up for around 10-ish, maybe seconds, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And when you are on that road, axeboy speed increases by a substantial amount. Like, I'm talking, his speed probably goes up by like 1.5 faster. Like, no, not 1.5 faster, maybe like 0.5 extra speed, maybe a little faster. And so what ends up happening is when he's on that chairing speed, so what you'll see a lot of pro axeboys doing is they'll identify where a chair is if they have a survivor down. They'll place their Restful Road before they pick up. They'll pick up and their ballooning speed will be faster before it triggers struggle. And they'll get to the chair in like under 3 seconds. You'll see a lot of pro axeboys are like, axeboy means do that. Another way, but pretty much the same thing, you can use for Restful Road is if you like urgently need a Restful Road, and I mean like urgently, like you don't have to do this, but if you really feel like you can get the hit off of it, you can, if you have any Juniper Tree plants left, you can drag the plant on the tree icon. I'll show it on screen. You can drag that onto your Restful Road icon when it's on cooldown or if it's off of cooldown, and then use that to create a Restful Road. I don't do this because I don't really see too much of a point in it because it wastes trees and I would have to take some of my time to take it off later. But it gives you a huge benefit because you can essentially skip cooldown, I believe. Again, if I'm wrong, I'll have it on screen. And now let's get to the meat of it. That is very outdated. I haven't updated this in a long time. But as we can see here, Blackguard and Joseph have the fastest... What speeds are this? I'm pretty sure these are stun recovery speeds. That are pallet breaking speeds. These are pallet breaking speeds. So if we compare it to Joseph, Axeboy is in a pretty decent range. But when it comes to stun recovery speed, I meant my other main reference. If they actually... Okay, yeah, so here. Axeboy's stun recovery is 3.42 seconds. Pretty eh. His vaulting speed's fine. His movement speed's actually kinda slow-ish, not really. And his model volume is actually pretty small. It's kind of hard to see over him. It's hard to actually hit. His attack range is actually really small. It's really stupid compared to Nightmares, who is like significantly longer. At least decently. It's like a few decimals. And his stun recovery is actually a little shorter. Compare that to, say, Soul Weaver. Her stun recovery is probably the worst in the game. It's actually stupid. I don't know why it's like that. Her vaulting speed is actually stupid. But her range is even more stupid. Like compared to Axeboy, who has a normal attack range of 3.04. Hers is 2.80. 8087. It is really important that you get to know your hunter from the ground up, because I'm actually really happy they added stats. Because if you don't know your hunter from the ground up and you really want to get good at them, you really want to rank with them, you're kind of like missing out on like the meat of your character. Because you can know when's the best time to do a charged attack, when's the best time to like try to ease in that hit, when's the best time to blink, are they in range of my blink, even warping, for Christ's sake. It's like you really have to know. Now as for my build, this is what I would normally run. If you're new to Axeboy, then I recommend doing an up-down build. Up-down builds universally are pretty good, except for some characters. I feel like Trump Card for Dream Witch and Bloody Queen or other characters is pretty much essential. But if you're new to Axeboy, definitely carry one order. It doesn't need to be at full. I only do one wanted order because I get downs fairly quickly in the right scenario. But pretty much all of my builds are like this. They're all pretty much up down. How Insolence is pretty much useless on him unless you feel like you really want that healing debuff. No Survivors is decent. I wouldn't recommend it. Trump Card is good. I recommend it. Pretty much your only issue as Axeboy would be Chase. So if you can get perks based off of Chase, then you're taking that little pothole out of him in terms of mechanics, because there's nothing you can really do about his attack range. So I would also recommend Hunter's Instinct. Basically, if you're trying to do any build for Axeboy, either do 12-3, which is confined space and trump card. 36, probably the most popular one, trump card and detention. Or 12-6, confined space and trump card. Always bring Berserker, always bring Rage, if you can. If you're doing a left down build, then you don't really have to. It's really up to you. Personalize Axeboy however you want. As for trait, teleport, blink, and warp are your best friends. Do not use any secondary trait that will waste your time. Axeboy is like an always moving character. You always have to be moving. Patroller would stop you. There's no point in using that. Only use excitement for, like, I guess, duo hunters. Warp is fine because it gives you more distance. Peeper doesn't really make sense, in my personal opinion. Like, I get it if it was for Wu Chang because he can actively teleport, but you can't actively teleport as Axeboy. I like using teleport because that gives me more map control. I prioritize map control over like raw chase. I'm not a blink person, me personally. So yeah, that's pretty much that. It is very rare that you'll get white sand. Like, very rare. And it's kind of rare on mobile to get Darkwood, unless you're a high tier, I guess. But by far, the best maps for him, in my opinion, Arms Factory, Red Church, and Moonlit. Everything else is kind of goofy. They have more walls, there's more windows. It's a lot more guessing. I'd say the worst map for him by far would probably be maybe Leo's. Probably Leo's because the trees are so far apart. Again, you'll see there's no trees. Oh, I got broken. But the moment this world stops, we have our trees. And guess how many there are? 5, yep. And so they'll have these big old little streams. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is the mature tree. You can take a branch off of it. It'll fill up your gauge. And essentially, depending on where you place the tree, not only will the souls spinning revolve off of that. So this tree was actually placed. From what it looks like, this tree was placed this way. But that wouldn't really make sense because the branch is going this way. I don't know. But there are 2 souls going around in each tree. If I were to take one now, I get fast. I go really fast. And then there's only 1 soul left at that point. So now we have Restful Road. I'm using it as accessory. So you can only really do it at, like, in your camera angle. But let's say if I were to go here, I'm speed. I'm literal speed. And if I hit him, my attack recovery is significantly faster. Now let's say, okay. Essentially, this would be what happens. You want to wait for it to be in your range, your ankle, and then you get hit. The soul will only go to you depending on what direction you're facing. And if you move, see there's another person there. And if you move, the soul moves with you. Wherever your camera is facing, it'll go directly to you that way. So I'm going to try to get Mercenary right here. It's kind of hard because I can't get him over there. You want to be able to make the most of your speed. I'm sorry, I'm concentrating. That's pretty much all in terms of like the instruction section. I'm going to actually put up a gameplay I did. It was a really weird one. I don't even know what happened. But I made these little icons for Axeboy that shows how the soul is being used. There's one that lands a hit. There's one where you get speed boost and get an attack, or the opposite, or whatever, like soul siphon and then hit. There's one for where he just gets the speed boost, and one where he gets nothing at all. So you kind of get to visualize or know, oh, and identify immediately, oh, this chance is what happened with this. I actually ended up getting a pretty bad map here. I still got a 4K, but it was probably the most confusing match I played all month. I'm pretty sure they were in like a full team. Either that or they were just feeling goofy and silly today. I don't know, but it made me laugh so much. and you'll be able to see my confusion. So here I actually spawned in the fields, and I was pretty far away. I mean, it was a little difficult to try to figure out where everybody was in the beginning half, but I just went ahead and went straight to the little ship to see if somebody spawned there, because usually they'd be in my sight through that window right there. And there was somebody there. I was just confused on where, because they couldn't be behind the boat, so I was going to go ahead and do Juniper Tree setup. That was going to be the 6th tree. And I ended up finding the entire squad back here, and I couldn't tell if they were trying to convince me to be friendly or not, but I got a soul siphon hit directly on Psych because I wanted to go ahead and get her shield down. And I'm just staring, I'm like, should I be friendly? Because they're genuinely being so funny. And so there's one Restful Soul because Psychologist already took the other one. And what I ended up doing was I waited for it to go around, and I got Psych again, I think? Yeah, I got her again for the 2nd time, and they were like, oh, this guy's for real now. So I went ahead and bait the pallet drop, and where the real match started, because they knew I was meaning business. So now both stunners are running together up there, and who did I get right here? I didn't get anybody. She prevented me from using my sword on early, which is really good against the axeboy player. I went ahead and hit Batter so he can stop harassing me, hopefully. And I guessed right here. I didn't even know Psychologist was right there. I just took a gamble, and he was at that pallet, which is crazy. And because I knew Batter wasn't there, I went ahead and chaired her immediately. Because 5 Cypher chair is always good. And now I see Puppeteer. I go ahead and place another tree because I want to be able to take advantage of my soul siphon hit. And I bait out the Lewis, missed my hit the chair on accident. I end up soul siphoning here, I think. And I missed, yep. And so I just go ahead and chase that whole band again. They get slowed, and so I wait to hit Enchantress, but I get stunned here, I believe. Yep. With her 1 stack. I get stunned for the 2nd time, so they're just making sure I don't get that. I hit him, and because I used my soul, my stun recovery sped up. Bueno, actually I lied. I had stun recovery first. And so I just go ahead, even though it's all harassment, go ahead and hit them. Now at this point, each one of them has at least 1 Resentful Soul. And I go ahead and pick up Batter. I try to drop him, and she comes in early. I down him again, and I siphon right here, and it misses. I get speed boost. I get the hit, and just generally try to ward her off. But I end up trying to pick him up again, and she stuns me again, and I get hit with a pallet. I get my stun recovery stack, and go ahead and chase this fella. And to my pleasure, I find out that basement is in Big Ship. So I just go ahead and continue following him. He runs out and attempts to hit me, and I go ahead and down him. I try to figure out who's right there, and there is 2 people. Psychologist AFK, I think. And I end up hitting whoever that was. Yeah, she was there. I just found her. It was kind of fun. And so I go ahead and, with Enchantress there, now that I know, I go ahead and take Batter to basement, because I know she's fine and she'll be able to make it. And this is where it just kind of becomes a basement party. This was crazy. I don't know how this happened or why this happened, but from the soul I can tell that they're going downstairs, so I go ahead and try to get the hit, but it hits the chair, and it's evading him to pick the chair, and I down Batter again. And while he's running away, before Enchantress comes, I end up choosing a 2nd time, so he should be at half now. And with my wanted order, I see that Girlie's coming back down. I place the 7th tree, and so the oldest one is down. I try to get a drop down hit, but I was just a little too far. And so, I don't know where she's going, but I get the speed boost. I missed my hit, actually. I don't know who I hit there. I hit the spear. And you know what? And then I get the spear again. Go ahead and chase up the weather. This basement party.
probably a lag fest. I get Enchantress right here, which is huge because she's not even out. I hit Batter. He's on Last Resort, which is even more huge. Boom. And now they're both down because Tide turns up. And so, with Enchantress down, I try to get the hook. I found him hiding behind there. It was a pretty good hiding spot, I'll give him that. And now we go downstairs. And take the Plop. There we go. Pretty sure he's dead. Yep. I just stare at her, look at her like, look what you did. And then I go back upstairs. This game is actually pretty fun. Most survivors have a personality, and I don't know. And I'm somebody to save. Both of them are there. Try to drop down, hit, miss. Getting the soul right here and getting him down, which is insane. And psychologist basically gives up, so I just let her watch. Eat it a little bit. Pick up here. Post some stuff. And that's pretty much game. Yeah. It was weird. I have my little stuff on it at the end.
I don't even know what happened or why it happened. I was contemplating on going friendly, but that was just too good. I was so scared. Hold on, let me. I was so confused. Just to give them kudos.